Welcome, everyone. This is the FBA Master Hangout with the one, the only, Andy Slamans. I know I've got to tease him just a little bit here because he said, I don't know as much as you do. No, he didn't. I made that comment right back to him. But I think I'm very excited to have him here tonight. I apologize for any late notice. My golf league was running a little late this evening, so I was scrambling to get over here. And I have a piece of pizza and a beer, and I'm just ready to listen to Andy and ask him questions. So, like always, if anyone has any questions, feel free to post them in the Facebook groups. Feel free to post them on the Google Hangout. Shoot me a private message. I'll feed them over to Andy. But no one wants to hear me talk. So I'll just start asking Andy some questions. Andy, before we get started, just go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit here.
Sure. So my name's Andy Slamans. I've been selling on Amazon for a little over 2.5 years. I've done all of my learning not all of it, but I'd say probably 80% of it in the various Facebook groups.
That's just a very exact percentage.
Just like the one that Chris runs, FBA Master. How long has FBA Master been around?
I think in about a month and a half, we'll be celebrating our 1-year anniversary.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. So you guys, those of you who are watching, I'm sure that I watch Chris and my head spins. All the stuff that he's involved with and everything that he's doing, all the ungatings, the GoFundMes. I'm like, man, do you ever sleep? What's your secret?
A lot of caffeine. But that's pretty much it. And I have a great team behind me with Mike and John and all those guys. So what it makes it look like I do a ton of stuff, there's probably 20 people behind there that made that magic happen.
Okay, so question for you. I know you're the interviewer, but so do you know those guys like outside of Amazon, or are they relatively new friends? You've known them for a while?
John was in it from the beginning. So for anyone who doesn't know, my entire group started from a 4-person bolo group with me, John, and 2 other people. That was it. And John and I have met in person one time, and it was when I was up in Chicago. He brought his little kid, and we ate breakfast. And I've never met Mike in my life.
Really?
I just assumed Mike would take me to a casino, get me trashed, and make me play poker all night. But I've never met any of those 2. Now, Carl and my dad, I've met those guys very regularly, but Mike and John, not so much.
That is so funny because, I guess you just don't get the context in Facebook. When I'm in your group, I'm like, man, these guys must have been friends like since high school.
Never met John or Mike before. Actually, the group started on October 31st of last year, so on Halloween. I told John, I said, I'm just going to start a public Facebook group. And he goes, yeah, that'll never work. And now we have what we have. So John is kind of the brains behind the operation. I'm the cute guy that talks to nice people. And that's about it.
Well, it's funny, like us talking about that. Why that's so relevant to me is all of my Amazon learning and growth has come from other sellers interacting just like you say you have with your small mastermind bolo group. And so, as I talk to new sellers, I'm always, the first thing I say is get engaged in Facebook, Amazon seller communities. By far, the relationships that I've been able to have through PMs, is how it begins, but they have by far helped my business grow more than anything else.
So can you give us a little bit of background about yourself? I know you said you've been selling for a little bit here, but I know you're a big name. You're the guy behind, you're the private label dude, Andy. So can you give me a little bit of background on how in the heck you got to that point?
Sure, yes. So I started out selling just like a lot of sellers, selling junk around my house. I had a next door neighbor who had been selling on Amazon for about 2 years. She did mainly books. And so she was always talking to me like, hey, Andy, you got to get into this. I'm buying these books for $5, selling them for $100. I thought she was lying. I thought it was like a multi-level marketing scheme. I don't know if you ever had anybody come over to your house, and they bring out the book, tell me what your dreams are.
Almost like it's a Mary Kay or Avon push.
Yeah. So I just kept, pushing her away. And finally, I started to check into what she was doing. So I actually started helping her a little bit, and sure enough, doggone it, she was right. She was getting these books at thrift stores, buying them in the bins, and with textbooks, man, you can make a killing.
That's how I got started.
No, is it really?
I wanted to buy a set of golf clubs, so I bought and sold textbooks at my campus, and I didn't even sell them on Amazon. I would do the trade-in programs, and I would buy them for double the price the bookstore would offer a student, and I'd sell them for double that on a trade-back program, and bought myself a nice set of golf clubs and took my wife to Jamaica. So that was how I got started in Amazon. Was I just started buying textbooks from everybody who posted in a Facebook group with the ISBN numbers and said, well, I can look those up. I can make an offer. Pretty easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And so that's what, I started seeing what she was doing. And then finally I jumped in, and just started selling stuff around my house. Then went to thrift stores, started selling goods at thrift stores, went to retail. Like my first big buy was at Walmart after Christmas sale. I think I spent like $3,000, like they'll put all their toy clearance like in the garden section, right?
Yes, I was there today.
Yeah. And so, man, I cleaned up and I was like, oh my goodness, this is for real. Like all the stuff I was getting was selling for 4 or 5 times the amount I was paying for it. And that's when I knew, like, man, this could potentially grow into something really big. So that's, I started doing it, and, scale, like first month was whatever, 2,000 or 3,000, and month after month started getting higher. But what I started to realize was I get bored when I shop.
Okay.
There's not a lot of love there, for me when I'm scanning the aisles, or driving. It's just not, it's not what I like to do. And then I started to look into, folks that were private labeling. Now, of course, like the biggest group that kind of came out with the private label on Amazon is the Amazing Selling Machine. So I don't know if you've heard about them, but they're like master marketers. Glitzy, they're like the MLM, tell me what your dreams are. And, they have the videos with them on the big yacht, at the nice hotel with the beach behind it. And so, I started to look into them, and then I met my friend Maggie Cuson in a Facebook group, and she basically taught me how to import. She kind of helped me understand a little bit more what private labeling was. But more importantly, just like you were in a shared Bolo group, she shared a product with me. She didn't have the capital to be able to really go all in on it. Mm-hmm. And so she said, hey, look, take this. I can't really do anything with it right now. And that's how I got started.
Okay, so I guess my first question, and I know this will go with a lot of the audience that's watching tonight, is why the switch? I know the shopping and the driving and everything, but what benefits went with the private label route? Sure.
So, just like everyone who does retail or online, when you get on a product like a Lego and there's 100 other sellers, especially when you do a lot of online arbitrage, you make the buy and the margin is there, and then it takes 4 or 5 days for you to get the product. And then by the time you get it to the warehouse, your margin has been squeezed because of the amount of sellers. So you can do a couple things. You can wait it out, if you have good cash flow and you think that product's going to come back up, or you end up, just being okay with making whatever, $5, $6 on something you thought you were going to make $12 on. Okay. So for me, the appeal was when you private label, to be able to control that buy box 100% of the time, it eliminates your competition. And you don't have to sell through as many, your sales velocity doesn't have to be great. And so, if I have that buy box 100% of the time and I'm making $10, right, on each sale, I'm okay if I only sell 4 or 5 a day, of each of my listings.
So I've got to assume, and I think I know the answer to this, but in addition to being able to control your buy box to have a constant stream of sales, does it also reduce your amount of prep and ship time, since it's the same item that you're shipping in? And you really just have to kind of order it and say, hey, I'm going to send this in now, go.
Yeah, so don't tell anybody, Chris, but I really haven't worked for like the last.
Now, what about that pool party that I saw you do?
The pool party, what was that?
You were like packing by the pool. I saw pictures.
Oh, yeah. So that was like that was a shipment. Now I get everything processed right by Prime Zero Prep. I still had some leftover inventory. There are still a few things that I have shipped here that I know I can just do a whole lot cheaper, hiring high school kids. But by and large, like the last 2 to 3 months, I really had not worked that much because my items are kind of like replenishables, right? And so I made a huge buy. I think it was in May. I imported by boat like $60,000 worth of goods and got that to Prime Zero Prep. He sent them in, and I'm just kind of living off of that right now. And so, yeah, definitely private label, you're able to do that. So when I send like my best-selling product, I send 1,000 units in at a time every 2 months. And basically that 1,000 units is going to last me 2 months.
Okay, and then is that those numbers coming from kind of your past sales so that and you switch that up as you enter like a Q4 when the sales are going to ramp up just because overall volume is higher?
Yeah, so just like everyone else, during my last both of I've only done 2 fourth quarters. I sell about 3 times as much as what the other quarters are. So I want to try to have 3 times the amount of inventory.
Now, do you just stick to private label around Q4, or will you take out, go to a local store and start buying stuff, or are you just solely private label now?
The first 4th quarter, I was all like RA, OA. Second, 4th quarter, I was almost all private label. This 4th quarter, I'm going to try to do as much RA as possible by hiring other people to shop for me. I still think like for toys in 4th quarter, it's still really the only gold rush on Amazon, I think, are toys in the 4th quarter. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I do think that's still there.
Okay, so now I think some of the people listening or watching are going to be interested in this. You mentioned you're going to hire some people. How do you structure that up with some of the people that you hire to go buy those goods?
So I'm just going to pay them hourly.
Okay.
Whatever, when they leave their driveway. And these are people that I trust, people that I know. From the time they leave their driveway, I'm going to give them a list, and then I'll give them the stores that they're going to go to.
Okay.
And then they'll be able to drop the stuff off at my house. So it'll be an hourly rate.
Okay, very nice. So I'll switch back over to private label here because I know that's what a lot of the people are coming here tonight to watch because you are the guy. Would you have ever imagined 2 years ago when you started doing this that you would be in a position where you're sitting here with a guy who started a year ago and talking about how to do all this stuff to people who are just starting?
Dude, I never in a million years. And like when you're younger, you'll hear like adults or older people tell you never know where you're going to end up. Your major really doesn't matter because you're never going to use your major. I was a house parent, right, for underprivileged kids for 15 years. I lived with 12 high school students. I thought I was going to do that for the rest of my life. We were happy doing that. Had no desire to change. And so when you say that, like, did I ever picture myself being in e-commerce? Never, ever did I ever think that. And so it's funny because now when I talk to kids, I sound just like that adult that used to say that to me. You never know what you're going to end up doing, really.
I completely agree. My degrees are in economics and sales, which kind of tie into it. But overall, I never learned any of this stuff. I find a college degree is what you get that shows you know how to learn.
Right.
And once you have that, you can learn about anything. And it's just that piece of paper that says you can do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. So on the private label track of that, you said you kind of got that first product kind of with a small mastermind. She kind of guided you along. Now, when you start, how many products do you have in your inventory? Do you have is it 5? Is it 20? Is it 2,000? How does that look?
Yeah, so right now I have about 36 separate, private label SKUs.
Okay.
Some of them are similar. They're maybe just different variations. And so, but again, I still consider that 36 because I really track each listing I consider that their own private label. I consider each listing basically a separate private label product, because that's what I'm tracking my profit off of each listing, if that makes sense.
Okay, so now when you say private label products, are these actual brands that you own, or are these just products that are kind of generic that you're throwing out there?
Both. So I do have one brand that I'm building out. It is my moneymaker brand. And I have multiple SKUs that are related. The dream is to be able to build some brand awareness, on this one. So I have a patent on, I'm sorry, I have a trademark on it.
I was going to ask you what you invented. I was kind of excited there for a second.
I wish. And so like that is the ultimate goal, right? And there's a few people like Ryan Moran. I'm not sure what he did, but I think he built a brand and then he sold it. It's kind of weird, building a brand on Amazon. At some point, you definitely have to have your own website, because a business isn't going to buy basically just on your sales as an Amazon seller. But yeah, this one I'm all in on. I continue to build it out, and I just have to get better. Like, that's a weakness of mine. I have to get better at building my brand. And so, if that means creating a Facebook group, if that means getting better at Pinterest, that's what I need to get better with.
You're not a star at Pinterest. I would have never guessed that. It's usually anybody, because now I'm not sure if you know a lot about my background, and it's very fascinating how I fell into this. My background is solely digital marketing. I work as a assistant vice president of digital marketing and communications for a university now.
Right.
It's been a mess over the last weeks. I've been changing jobs. And it's so funny because I think a lot of the group that I've built has been off my marketing side, not so much off of my knowledge side. So I've tried to partner and learn from you and other people that I know, because I find that I just may have the ability to talk, but a lot of people are really smart in the back end that understand the business side of it.
Right. No, that's huge. I've seen you do that. Like, I think you're up there, and that has to all do with your marketing. And, as a private label seller, that as you build a brand, that's what you have to be able to do. And I think, again, like Ryan Moran, I forget what the name of his podcast is, but that's basically what he did. So he built a brand on Amazon, and then somehow he marketed it right, and then he was able to sell it. So that would be the ultimate goal. I'm
going to have a product from Andy Slamans in my house because it was so well marketed that I need to have that brand. Is that essentially kind of your end goal?
Yeah, not so much that as if you can show revenue. I think that's most people that are going to buy a business, they want to be able to see that consistent revenue. And so that's probably more what I would want to show. Yeah, but brand awareness, absolutely.
Okay, so could you, and I know this is kind of a random question, not so much, could you talk to me how in the heck you found some of these products? Yeah. How do you go about saying, I know a few that you sell, so I'm not going to say any of those, but how do you go, I'm going to sell this product today? Right. How do you go about doing that?
I share, I thought I had one nearby. I share a product that I found a couple of months ago on some videos that I do that are public. So one of my products are glass straws.
That's the one I know very well. So that's why I wasn't going to say
I don't have a problem with sharing that. So, my philosophy, and this is what I teach, and I'm sure you've heard it before, but I only want to sell what's already selling on Amazon. And so, I get people that come to me all the time and they say, hey, I have this great idea for a product, right? Number one, like they're so far back, like they're talking about prototyping, right? Which if you have an idea and you want to prototype it, that's like $50,000, $60,000 to really do it right. So they always say, I have a great idea. And then I immediately slam on the brakes and say, is it already selling on Amazon? Because if it's not already selling on Amazon, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And so that's the great thing, right, about Amazon. They show us the BSR. There's no other website that gives intelligence like that publicly. By Amazon giving us the BSR, I can look and see like these glass straws that I basically copied from another seller. I saw that they were ranked at 1,000. They had been ranked at 1,000 for 6 months straight, and there were very few listings of glass straws. And so I knew that all I had to do was get mine imported, get them into the catalog, and then just get them a little bit close to that number one seller, and then undercut them a little bit by price initially, and then I was going to generate sales. And basically that's my philosophy for all my products.
So now when you do that initial undercut of price, I mean, in a marketing mind, I assume that's going to drive you up on the sales rank and the search results overall. So you're going to match very closely with the other items. It's going to show in the recently viewed, also bought, also looked at kind of thing. When does that kind of when do you stop undercutting and switching to going to more of I'm a better quality, or I'm a more consistent quality item?
Right. That's probably something I'm not good at. So, you know, there's an Apple brand where Apple charges a premium price, right? My products are definitely not the Apple brand. That's not how I brand them. That's not how I market them. You have to be either you got to give a lot of time, or you have to have someone that's good at basically writing great copy, doing great photos, you know, like with the models. Now that's something like Amazing Selling Machine teaches. Basically, they teach that you get one product and you put all the glitz and glamour that you can, you know, into that product page and into that product. And then you just stay with it, give it away as much as you have to until you're at that like first, second, or third spot, right, on first page of search. I don't believe that. So like my glass straws, I have 3 listings now, and I average about 8,000 to 12,000 rank. My competitor, he averages now probably between 1,000 and 3,000. I'm okay with staying between 8,000 and 12,000 rank. And so I create my listing, I set it, and then I forget it. I don't want to have to keep massaging it. I don't want to have to keep thinking about it. I just want to send it in.
I think that's a really interesting point, because it's okay to be in second place if you're still making money at second place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of people would never think that. One area, and I know my dad and I will talk about this in a podcast that we're doing soon, but we ended up, it was kind of wholesale, kind of in a esque of private label. We were buying bottle cappers for beer bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. We were buying them from a place, and they're sold out now, but we were buying them for $4 a piece, selling them for $15. And we just hopped onto a listing. It wasn't the private label where we made it our own brand, but that same thing could hold true. We knew something was selling, and if I could find a supplier that was very relevant or that could make a product that was very similar, you could probably enter the market. And I know we were selling 10 a day, so if I could sell 5 a day, I'd still be very happy with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so my goal, like I said earlier, on all my products, if I could just sell 4 to 5 a day, and I'm okay with even selling 2 or 3, my goal is always to make $10 on each sell. And if I can do that and just continue to roll in, you know, 2 or 3 new products every month or month and a half, you're doing pretty good, because again, you can pretty much set your listing and then you can forget it. And then it's just about managing your inventory. And that's why I love private label. I still, you know, I think it is the best model. There are pitfalls, you know, and there
That was where I was going to go with it. My next question was, I've got 2 different areas I want to expand on.
Yeah.
Number one is, tell me when you've really screwed up on something. Has there been a time where there's been a mistake and you had to learn from it?
Oh, absolutely.
So I love those stories, because I find that you learn more from a mistake than you ever do a success. So
there's a lot of pitfalls, and you can, just like anything, like wholesale, you know, when you're making bigger buys, there's a chance that you could lose. You know, there's more risk. I think there's greater reward, but then there's also a chance you could lose. So I'll tell you one of my horror stories. When you do a promo, right, on a product, when you give it away, you know, you set up the claim codes. Very tricky. Never do it if you're watching the Hangout. Never set up a promo code unless you absolutely know what you are doing, and I'm going to tell you why. I knew what I was doing. However, when I was setting up a promo code, so I imported silicone kitchen utensil sets, right? This was like a year ago. Very good sellers. Back then, the type that I was importing, relatively few competition, okay? I was landing them in the warehouse for $10.50 and they were selling for $30. So I was making real good money on it. I set up my promo code. This was like at 12 o'clock at night. It had been a long day. All right. This is
going like this very
yeah. I should have never set it up that late. Well, when you set up the promo code, there's this little box that you have to uncheck, okay? And the box is hidden. If I showed you right now like how to do it, everyone, anybody I show it to, they're like, you got to be freaking crazy. Is that are they serious? And so when you have to click a word, then the box drops down, then you have to uncheck the box. If you don't do that, your promo code then gets displayed right on your product page. And so I thought I had unchecked it, right? Went to bed 12 midnight, woke up like at 5 in the morning. Okay. I always generally check my account first thing. I check my account and my entire inventory, it was like 850 units, right? Gone. Overnight, gone. So that was like
excited with that many sales, and then they would go, "Oh crap, that was at the wrong price."
But what's funny is I wish I had a screenshot. My product was the #1 seller in the kitchen category. You know, like the shakers and movers or whatever. It was #1. I was the #1 seller for one day in the kitchen category. So, you know, that was like over $8,000. I immediately got on the phone. I had to wait because I'm Eastern time. I had to wait till whenever Amazon opened up. It was like 3 hours later. I said, hey, look, you got to stop these orders. The crazy thing, what happens is the Koreans somehow, they get a hold of these codes, right? And then they post them on all the Korean websites. I had one guy, I could tell he's Korean by his name. He ordered 150 of them in Delaware, right? I don't know how he did it, but 150. So whatever. So Amazon, I said, hey, you got to stop these. They end up only being able to stop like 200. And so it was like a $9,000 learning experience. I was physically sick. I was over the toilet, like wanting to puke, you know. And so,
that's horrible.
Yeah. So whenever you set up promo codes, that's like a mistake. And you know what's funny is it happens every day. So the Amazon reps that I was talking to, they were like, look, this happens every day. I'm like, well, you need to change the process then. But I think Amazon kind of likes it because people are getting free product.
No more courses for you. You just sell how to turn off that freaking button, and you're a millionaire right there. Because if you're saving $9,000 a pop, I mean, people will pay for that freaking crap.
Yeah. So the good part is that, you know, all those sales, I was then on the first page of search, and I stayed there until I sold through, you know, my 200 units.
Okay. So I guess my next question, this is off the private list. Actually, no. Let's go to, we got a Michael from the Facebook group, wants to know, so when you find a product, you hop on to something that's already selling. Do you find that a lot of other people hop on to that kind of same product and start being a real big competition overall with your product types?
Yeah. So the question is, how long is the shelf life, right?
Yeah.
Of your private label product before too much competition comes in? And I don't have an answer for you on that one yet. All I can tell you is my best selling products, I've been selling them now for probably 20 or 21 months, and they're still my best selling products. So competition has not come in too fierce on those yet. The way to alleviate that is you want to try to get your average selling price higher, and you want the buy per piece on your product to be higher, right? And so if I'm buying a product that costs me $20 to land it in the Amazon warehouse, you have to have some good capital in order to give away a good amount of units to try to catch me, if that makes sense.
You're putting a barrier to entry there, of
Yes.
sorts, from my economics days. Now, question for me, just sitting back here, have you ever bundled your private label items into some sort of bundle?
Yep. So some of my best selling, my brand that I'm building out, I sell them in bundles of 6, so my average selling price on those are right around $50. Yeah, I mean, bundle really, or we can talk about, what's the word I'm looking for? Not even bundling, but it's kind of like poor man's private label. Or maybe it is bundling. Like if you take a name brand products, right, and put them together.
Yeah.
Is that bundling?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't have to import. You can basically create a private label product by doing that yourself. The question is, do you have enough capital? If it's gonna, when you bundle and use a name brand product, it's a lot easier to get found in search too.
Oh, yeah, because you're pulling it from that bit that's with the information that's already there. My stumbling into bundling, and I actually, this is one of the funniest stories that no one knows, and everybody's going to know it right now. My dad, I bought a bunch of these shampoos. They were this Rene Fructis from this local liquidation warehouse. I bought over like 3,000 of these shampoos for $1 a piece and put them together, and I started sending them in. I send them as individual SKUs, and then I started listing merchant fulfilled bundles. And I started using Amazon's multi-channel fulfillment to fulfill myself a bundle when they sold, which I'm not sure is completely legal at the time. But overall, I learned that you do sell some things that are in bundles way better than you do individual products. Yep. So then I started requesting some back, or when I got new ones, I started putting them in those bundles and sending them in.
Yep.
But I didn't realize I was bundling anything until my dad goes, they call that bundling. Right. I said, no, I just shipped that crap to him that way. And he's like, no, that's called something. I'm like, no, you're lying. So
yeah, definitely.
The next direction I want to go, because I really think you have some good knowledge on this, is the one thing you mentioned that caught me, not by surprise, but caught my interest, was your networking with other sellers, and how that really took you to that next level. A lot of people are sitting here watching it and going, well, Andy and Chris, we can't network with them. What's going on? I mean, they're too full-time. They're the big wigs. How did we get to this spot? How did that networking kind of go? How did you build your network, I guess, is my question. Right. Because you and I are completely normal people. You have a Incredibles phone to your left and a Chicago Cub thing to your right. Right. And I'm sitting here drinking beer with a Brad Keselowski Mazak hat from my old job. So, I mean, we're normal people, but how in the world did how did you connect with the people that you're connected to?
So, yeah, I mean, and this is typical business speak, right? If you talk to people who've been in business, older people, they'll tell you, it's really people that matter. Yes. It's not the processes, it's the people. And what's interesting is, and it's probably, I never went into business. I was a social work major, right? Because I always felt that my skills dealt with people. I was a people person, all right? And for some reason growing up, I didn't think being a people person or having compassion would mesh, right, with business.
Passion and business.
No, yeah, they don't go together, right? And so, like, growing up, I always had people around, though. And so people were always coming over my house. That's just kind of how I worked. I don't know. It's how I lived. And so getting into the Amazon world, really, for me, it's just been doing what I've always done, just trying to get into relationships with people and trying to, and I know this is an often used word, give value, right, to people. Not to ask questions, but to give value. So early on, Chris, I was sending Hershey's chocolate to everybody. Anybody that answered a question that I had, I sent them Hershey's. I live in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
I know. I'm so mad at myself because I was over in Pittsburgh, I should have made a trip to come see you, and I didn't. We were watching the Rolling Stones in Pittsburgh.
Oh, cool.
I was so close and didn't get over there. So I've got to come see you sometime.
Right. Yeah. So I was just trying to, I was trying to thank people who were helping me out, and whatever, if you want to call that giving value, and trying to build relationships. I tell this story like I reached out to Chris Green. I'm not kidding, about 30 times. I sent him messages on Facebook to invite him to our house in Hershey. At the time, we were living in a house provided by the school that we worked at. In the summertime, it was empty. It's like a 6,000 square foot house. So it's a great vacation home. So about 30 times, I just kept saying, Chris, look, it's free. I'll get you tickets to Hershey Park. It's like Six Flags. It's a great amusement park. Your kids will love it.
Chocolate fountains everywhere.
Yeah. And I didn't want anything in return, right? I just kept saying, I promise you to have a great time. Well, finally, I was like just beating on his door. He finally said, okay, I'm going to come. And so, when he came, I left him alone, didn't ask him questions or whatever. He came out one night and started talking. And so from that time, we were able to develop a relationship. But it was being persistent, and also, again, being persistent, but also giving him value, Yeah. And so I'll get a lot of people, Chris, I'm sure you do too. They'll send me a message on Facebook and it'll be like 2 pages long, right, of questions. And as soon as I get that, my nerves, they just start like vibrate. Like I can't process that. There's no way, that I can answer that. And it would have been better for that person if they would have just said, man, Andy, you know what? I saw you the other day and way to go, or great, great talk or whatever, or just say, hey, I appreciate you that. If they do that, I'm like a golden retriever, right? If somebody gives me praise, I will do anything and everything for them. I'm a sucker for affirmation.
Well, and I'll side with you on that. When I'm inundated with 60 messages or 100 messages in a day, when people are asking me for something or reminding me that I'm supposed to do something or doing that, I realize that I fall behind sometimes. I'm a little bit busy, and I appreciate those people who don't say, well, where's this at? Go, hey, is there anything I can do to help move this along?
Right.
Or thank me for doing something or doing that. And I have a way better response rate with those people. And it's anything. I respond to everybody when I can.
Right.
But if someone were to come on and go, hey, Chris, wonderful podcast that you did yesterday. Andy was great and I loved it. So, and then I start talking with them and I'll answer all their freaking questions without realizing I did it.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I'm answering questions and like, what the heck's going on?
This phone, right? I did a Spreecast and I talked about how I liked Incredibles, and I try to collect Incredible merchandise. Well, a week later, a guy was thrifting, and he found this phone in the thrift shop and he mailed it to me. And so I'll always be indebted to that guy. His name is Mike Damrow. In fact, I sent him like 1,000 poly bags for free. Because I sell poly bags, because he gave me this phone. I mean, and his name, it will always be in my head.
Dan Deckelman, Bart Starr signed Packers hat. Indebted to him, and I've got a bottle of Dom Perignon sitting right next to me here. And that dude, still to this day, I owe him another phone call because I was running late when I called him. It's a common theme with me. I run late on everything. But called him, and I talked with him for almost an hour or 30 minutes or so. I have another phone call scheduled to him, but I am indebted to him because he showed me a little bit of kindness.
Oh,
and it's really strange because it goes a long way, and a lot of people don't realize that. We're just normal people, and I got a freaking Wilkes Packer jersey that's sitting out on my countertop because I'm going to a Bears Packers game on Sunday.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited. John, my good friend John, is the one that got me the tickets to that. I'm so excited. But I know who got me that jersey. I will make sure that everything I do pays off. It's already paid off. Like we were doing engatings for those shoes and clothing in a matter of an hour. We got him done. He was good. Gone. Got my stuff. I was happy. I gave a little priority to it. And then you get some people who ask you 20 million times, have you done something? You're like, I'm getting there. I promise I'm getting there. I'm not ignoring you, but I'm getting there.
Right, right. Yeah, so I think it goes back to your question, like as far as the networking and that kind of stuff, especially in this online world, the context or giving of something like that, it goes a long way. And so for me, like one of the best relationships I have right now, I have a friend in India who reached out to me on Facebook. He didn't ask me any questions. This was his first message to me. He says, "Hey, Andy, I really want to partner with you. I have a great product. I think that we would be able to sell together, and I can source it here in India." And that relationship with him has been the best by far. He's tremendous. And, as we talk about competition among Amazon sellers, and I don't know if you see this or not, but the international sellers coming into the market, for me, I get more friend requests from international sellers than I do USA sellers. These guys are hungry. And my friend Safraj, he's hungry. He's willing to sacrifice whatever he has to do, right, to be able to get a little piece of the pie. And so, as USA sellers, I mean, that I think is going to be the big push in the coming years. And that's going to be our competition, dealing with guys like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got two last things we're going to do. I've got 3 questions here, and I'll look at the Facebook group here in a minute and pull some questions from there. I'm going to ask you those. So have you ever had, and this is a question from Alexander, he wants to know if you have ever merchant fulfilled an item that was a private label item and then have someone come on and kind of go, I'm going to FBA this and kind of take over your thunder. Do you have any of that competition that really is kind of cutthroat in any of your listings that you've had?
Yeah, definitely. That's another pitfall, that you have with private label, because there are some folks who feel like they should have the market cornered on Amazon for their product.
Okay.
So I have one product right now that I'm dealing with a crazy lady. The lady is just crazy, right?
And, if you're listening, crazy lady, we apologize. Not really what we do.
And I don't do crazy. And so I pay off terrorists. I'm just like, if somebody requests a refund, I'll get stuff, crazy stuff. Like they'll say, hey, we were supposed to get 12 of this item and we only got 11. I just say, okay, send me your address and I'm going to send you 12 more. Cause I don't want to spend time on that. Like I'm at a level now where that, the return rate, if it goes up to 3%, I'm okay with that. I don't have time for that. So I have a crazy lady though that has this product. Yeah. And she thinks that she should own it on Amazon. And so she's, somehow she got my name and number, real crafty, right? She went through somebody else, and I don't know how she did it, but she got my name and number, and she's basically threatening me, right? Saying you're infringing on my patent. Well, I have a patent lawyer, so my patent lawyer looked at it. She doesn't have a USA patent, so she buys it from Germany. They have a patent there, not a USA patent. And so, but in the meantime, though, Chris, she's messing with my listing. And so she left a review. Listen to this. Left a review and put her brand name in the review. So she said, this product is crap. If you're going to buy this product, you should buy this brand, right? So I called Amazon immediately. There's actually an email, and I don't know if you have it or not. It's like community something at Amazon that you can email to get reviews removed. And so and Amazon removed it immediately. They knew it was a bad review. Well, then she downvotes all of my good reviews. Okay. So she probably has other people or multiple buyer accounts. So she's downvoting them. So anyway, that was early on. So she calls me and she's all hot saying and so I'm just like, okay, look, lady, I have 400 units left. All right. Let me sell through those. Please do not mess with my listing. I said, you are a bully. Okay. You won. I said, there's too many other products out there. I don't care. Just, you can have that. And so she was okay with that. So that's what I'm doing. And now a lot of people are like, man, you should have fought her. Why didn't you fight? You're giving up the fight. That's not me. And ultimately, Chris, if someone knows your account, they can mess with it enough to get you shut down.
Oh, yes. Fully.
No problem.
There is a point of contingency with all of this stuff. You can fight a battle, but a bully, no matter what they can do, can just, I could go annihilate anything I wanted to do.
Oh yeah.
Would I ever do something like that? No.
Right.
But I know all the pins and pulls and levers to do it, because I know what I prevent myself from getting into.
Right.
So I know what you could claim and do all this crap, and you could really wreak havoc on other people.
Oh yeah.
And it's ridiculous. And I wish there was a better way of kind of filing those claims and kind of the review process. But nonetheless, it's a seller's world, or it's a buyer's world, and we're just sellers.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, those same people, like, you can send all the documentation you have. Like I could have sent all the documentation. I had screenshots. She bought my product, right? Listen to what she did. She bought my product. And I think that's how she got my name. Here's a tip for anybody. She bought my product, right? And then she listed it on my product page. Okay. And I
store then.
Yeah, and so I forget now. Now I'm forgetting, but that's how she originally got my name, I think. But then she took the product off of my product page. I don't know what she was doing, but bottom line was she was crazy, and I'm not gonna fight her because nobody wins in a war. And I love the income that I'm making right now, and I don't, you know, there's too many other products out there to go after, so she can have it.
Okay, next question I have is, someone wants to know, with a product like glass straws, what kind of insurance do you cover for your business, your personal use? How do you kind of go about all of that? Because I would be worried if something were to break in my mouth or something another happen. How do you go about that?
Yep. So that's a typical question a lot of people ask, you know, private labelers. And my answer is, I don't care what you're selling. You may be selling a name brand product. If the consumer wants to come after you and sue you because you were the seller, they will sue Amazon. They will sue whatever company represents that product, and they will sue you as well. And there's nothing you can do to stop that. And so private label, and people will say, yeah, but private label is a little different. It is true. I mean,
you're two of those three people. You're the person who's bringing the product in and the seller.
Correct.
So that would be the only difference, but still you're at the mercy of the person who's suing.
Yeah, you're right. And so I try to do low liability products. And I know like glass straws probably doesn't sound like that's a low liability product, but I do have liability insurance on some of my products. But in order to get liability insurance on all of your products, it's very hard to get. And so that's basically a risk that you're going to have to take. When we talk about those risk reward things, if you want a private label, what I tell people is you have to be willing to assume the risk that you really can't get product liability insurance.
Okay. I've got a lady named Amy here who says, hi, Andy, and wants to know how you make that first communication with a manufacturer overseas.
Yep. So the great thing about China is they've been exporting for 40 or 50, 60 years now. And
weren't they doing that since like the Silk Road?
Yeah.
I think you may be a little short on your time frame.
Right. They've been doing it forever. And so they have their processes down. I communicate with all of my sales reps through Skype chat. They all can speak English good. Now, you know, there is a process, which is why I teach a course, you know, on doing this.
We'll get to that in a second. Don't jump it too soon.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's definitely tips and strategies, you know, that you can use, but it is just like contacting a wholesaler in the US. And so, and actually I think it's a little easier because the sales reps, for me anyway, it's been easier. They want to sell you, right? And so they want to work with you. They want to have that relationship. The contact I've had with USA wholesalers has not been the best. And maybe it's because I just haven't spent a lot of time doing it. But they're hungry. They're ready to sell. And it's real easy through Skype. You're just chatting just like you do in Facebook Messenger.
Okay. I got a guy named Joey B, which I know who he is. But he wants to know, and I'm just kind of summarizing his question, are there any things you should really try to avoid when picking a label or an item to private label? He's mentioning something about one with moving parts and plugs and all that. Are there anything you should try to avoid when finding an item?
Yeah, so I tell people when they're just starting out to stay away from any kind of electronic, device, anything that, if the chip was moved, a millimeter this way, it could mess the whole thing up. Anything of that nature, I say stay away from. I always say try to stay with generic, very plain, very simple things. And then, there's a process to it. When you're importing, you always get samples of your product first. You never place a large buy. That's another story that I could tell on another day. You never place a large order until you get a sample of that product and you fall in love with that sample. A number of people that I know have gotten samples and they're crap. Every manufacturer, right, is different in China. And even then, you may buy one product from a manufacturer and the other product they make could be crap. And so you never place a large order until you get a sample and until it's exactly what you want.
Okay, so we have about 9 minutes left. This is the time in the Hangout where it's your time to tell everybody how in the heck you make money. If it's through a course or if it's through Facebook groups, it's your kind of pitch time. So let everybody know about your wonderful private label course and anything else that you do. I know that are you speaking at a few events coming up? Just kind of give a layout of anything that you're doing so that if anyone's just fallen in love with you and they want to follow you, they know where to find you.
Sure. So the biggest thing I do is I teach a course along with Maggie Cuson. She's the one who taught me, right, how to import and private label. And again, you asked the question earlier, would I ever picture myself doing, what I'm doing? I would never have pictured myself teaching a course. I knew when Maggie showed me, Maggie was extremely generous, right? She took time out. She showed me the process, of connecting with manufacturers and then the whole importing process. And she gave me some really good products. So I always told her, hey, Maggie, if there's ever an opportunity to do something, to teach a course or something, I want you to be, if you're interested, I'd love to do it with you. And so we do the course together. She is head and shoulders better than me. She is much better at picking trends.
This is recorded, just so you know. I'm recording it so I can share it with her.
Oh, yeah, you can. She knows this, and I tell everybody in the course knows this too. She is better at picking trends. She is better with the nuances of understanding policy, and she's a great negotiator. And so I always tell people the value of our course, because I do a spree cast, or I'm kind of like you, I'm out there in public space a little more. She's behind the scenes. The total value in our course is really Maggie. She's a genius. So
you're not supposed to tell people that.
Yeah. And really, like the course, just like the community that you've created, I see the value of our course more in the community that's created and the networking that happens. It's a little smaller. So right now we have like 450 people in there. And so you're able to share maybe a little more than what you would share in a larger Facebook group. But what we've been able to do so far, which I'm very pleased with, I said from the beginning, like when we did a course, I wanted to be able to reply to anybody's question in the course within 24 hours, right? And in a detailed fashion. And up to this point, we've been able to do that. And so I definitely am patting myself on the back. And the reason I say that is I came from an organization that had a lot of middle managers, and you would ask them a question and they wouldn't get back to you for like 2 weeks. And sometimes the questions like were urgent in nature. And I know that's probably like typical middle management, stuff or that people say about middle management, but I would be so frustrated and felt so disrespected, right, from that process. So what we set out to do from the beginning was that we were going to try to, as much as possible, always respond and help individuals that reach out to us, in the course. So that's really a benefit, I think, that we're able to bring, in the course that we have. And I know I'm kind of talking about the course now.
Oh, you're fine. Where, if I want to go find this course because I'm interested, where do I go find it? This is you gave us 50 minutes of great content. You get at least 10 minutes stuff that you're doing. That's the fair rule. I give it to everybody. I tell them, show what you teach people for 50 minutes. They're after 50 minutes, they can turn it off, but you get the 10 minutes at the end to explain your stuff.
Right. Yeah. So the course, you can just go, if you go to andyslamans.com, that's kind of the landing page for the course.
He doesn't have a shirt on or anything. He's flexing. It's really kind of creepy.
Yeah. If you're interested, you can PM me. I'm on Facebook. I'm in the groups, and we're actually starting it again October 20th. Now, I will say this. I am excited about this launch. We've done it 2 times now. I have another partner that's joining us. He's actually lives in China, and he's been in the exporting business now in China for 3 years. He, the knowledge in his belly button is more than the entire knowledge in Maggie and I's entire body, when it comes to importing. And that's the tricky part. We all know that the product that you buy from China, you're always going to get the best price on, right? But the tricky part does come in importing, and China can be dirty. And so there are some pitfalls that you want to avoid. And so I've brought him in to really be the expert and to really help us through that. But the great thing is about him, he also has a service where it's really cheap. Well, he'll source product for you in China. And so, you give him the product that you're interested in. His team then goes and actually finds the best factories. And then he'll also, for another fee that is very small, will negotiate price. And so now for all of my products, Chris, I just send to him. And then he goes, he finds a factory, and then he negotiates the price. And then he'll follow the whole process through, from negotiating the price to ordering the sample to the post-production. And so he takes all the guesswork out of it. So that's really what I'm excited about, because that's where everyone gets hung up. Everyone gets hung up on, how the heck do I find a factory in China, negotiate the price, and then get that shipped to me? Well, he's taken the guesswork out of all that. So,
well, now my next question is, can I buy out the whole freaking course so I can have them to myself? Because that sounds like a benefit. Honestly, if I was ever thinking about private labeling, you just mentioned like the 5 questions I would ask. And if it's a small fee and in the relative amount that you're investing in a product and the entire process, I mean,
yeah. And his negotiation skills the fees that you pay, right, for him to do this, you will get back just in the price per piece.
I know. I mean, I could sit there and imagine, if I was doing X product, if someone could negotiate, if I'm going to do it over a year period, and someone can negotiate 50 cents off my price, or 50 yen or whatever that is, goes across, that could be huge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you'd probably pay for it in the first freaking order.
All of the 3 products that I've given him, I've negotiated, right, with factories. He's been able to get it 50% less than what I originally negotiated for. So that's why, like, all the members of my course, now we just found him like 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. But all the members of my course, I'm always like, look, you guys, don't waste your time trying to find factory. Buy Sam's service, right? And let him do that work for you. It takes all the guesswork out. He's in China. He knows what he's doing. It's the best way to do it. So,
okay. So are you speaking anywhere anytime soon? Doing anything interesting like that besides your awesome course?
Yeah. So I'm speaking at Ecom Chicago, which is in October. I think like October 14th or 15th. Mark Levine puts that on, a Bubble Fast. And so my talks are kind of funny. Like when I speak, I do talk a little bit about Amazon, but I talk more from personal experience and kind of bring in some of my ministry stories.
So, those got to be fantastic. So now, when you say ministry stories, which denomination? I'm sold fast here that you're Lutheran in some fact, because you asked questions about it.
You know what? Lutheran is probably somewhere in my history. I'm really just a community church guy.
Okay.
So I'm not like tied to any denomination.
I was excited. My dad gave me a Martin Luther Playmobil little set that I could put on my desk, and you asked me about my Luther bobblehead. So I just
yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, anything else other than ecom?
Nope. I'll be going to CES this week. That's Jim Cochran's conference.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely am linked up, just like you're linked up with the other admins of FBA Master. I'm linked up with 4 other sellers. We have a group. It's Online Seller Academy. We're just kind of starting that, getting that growing. But
I've seen a lot from that, and I think if anybody's watching this, I won't push people away from myself, but I think if anyone's watching this and part of my group, definitely join that one. I've seen a lot of great content from it thus far, and I've honestly got to say, if I wasn't a member of mine, that'd probably be the next one I'd be a member of.
Yep.
Not trying to toot your horn or anything.
No, yeah, no,
you guys have done great.
I'm just trying to think how we can join your group.
Well, you know what?
Like I'm thinking how we can link up.
We talked to John. John's the guy behind the scene.
Right.
I'm just the guy who talks to people. I'm the one who is the random guy who drinks beer and talks to people and does videos. John's the mastermind. Mike is right there with him. They do it together, and they tell me what I can and can't do. And my favorite line is, well, Mike and John told me I can't do this. So I just go ahead and do it anyway.
Well, you guys are doing an awesome job at it because I'm following you hard, and your content that you're putting out has been phenomenal. So
we appreciate it, and we appreciate you taking the time this evening. I know it is a 9 o'clock for us Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Times people. It's late in the evening, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. And I hope some people have learned some stuff. I know I have personally, and I think. And if I'm going to speculate, this will probably be one of our highest watched Hangouts in the last month because we're not selling anything. We're just giving great information, and I appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely.
So if anybody has any other questions, Andy will be around. You can send them to me, and I can forward them on to him. This will be for replay if anybody's watching and go, oh, my, what did they say a few minutes ago? But I, again, from the FBA Master community, extend a very big thank you, and we appreciate you coming on this evening.
Yep. Thanks a lot for having me, Chris.
We'll see you guys next week. And hold on. It's stopping. Maybe. It's saying stopping.